Hurricane's live streaming service. Good morning, Wednesday here in the UK and still Tuesday evening over in the Lesser Antilles where Hurricane Irma is on the way. Here's a view from Force 13 HQ live, and moonlit is where you're seeing the lit up area of the clouds off towards the top left hand side. Anyway, we're still looking at Hurricane Irma, which is taking aim for Antigua and Barbuda, now 99 miles northeast of Guadeloupe at this hour, 106 miles east of Antigua, and 111 miles east-southeast of Barbuda, which will probably be the place that it will pass the closest to. For this hour, I am joined by Marcel, Isaac, and Strat. Let's talk to Marcel first, since he's just joined us. Yes,
So
that's you.
my dad has friends in the path of storm and Saint Martin.
What about St. Martin?
My dad has friends in the path in Saint Martin.
Oh, right. Well, have they? What are they doing? Any word?
I think they are preparing.
But they certainly ought to be, because St. Martin may well see significant hurricane force winds. Marcel, what are your thoughts of Irma's rapid intensification early today and its continual development, and what the eye wall structure looks like right now?
Impressive. I will define it with one word: impressive.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe this thing could get to 185 miles per hour. This is only impressive.
In that location, indeed. Marcel joining us from Colombia. We'll talk to him again soon. Isaac, Strat, where do you want to go from here as we enter another hour? If you've got any questions for us, by the way, send us a message, Force 13 in the chat.
Do you want me to screen share the recon data that we
Sure.
got during the break?
We just got new recon about literally like right before we went on. The pressure that the lowest pressure that they found so far is 914.1 millibars, and they found obviously still an area of Category 5 force winds in this thing. I could get you more accurate wind readings soon. It's just gotta wait for the site to work with me, because obviously everybody's on it right now and it's running slow.
Yeah, I just opened up the recon with the pressure. That's flight level pressure, by the way, so it's going to be a bit higher on the surface, but they did get 914.1 millibar pressure on flight level area. Right here, you can see these are the Category 5 winds as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Looks like they found 150 knots.
150 knots? And that was flight level as well, I take it?
Yeah, they're
Looks
getting
like
around 150-ish.
No, they got a little bit more than that. They got
area,
about...
looks like. Well, about.
We're looking at the top left panel. On the top left panel there is a little one where,
Yeah, I was
where it
looking at
has...
surface when their flight levels over here.
That's around 150 to 155, maybe. Yeah, 155 at least. So, push that down a little bit.
And pressures continue to deepen since the last one as well, if you can see. Those are two differences. It's slightly lower since the last eye pass of That's hour and a half ago-ish. Well, a little less.
Current eye temperature is somewhere around 18 Celsius. Might be a little higher. I've not managed to probe it completely yet. But looks like around 18, which, if true, would be down ever so slightly.
And also, Nathan, I believe we should get sat tops any minute now, or have we already?
Oh, well, it hasn't really changed. We've just gone with a preliminary number of 918 in the pressure.
There's the temperature at flight level as it went through the eye. It's closer to 23, 24.
All right, well, that's it. Very interesting. Ow. Very interesting, around 23, 24. That was me hitting my hand
keep
on the
in mind that's
laptop.
flight level, though, so that isn't necessarily surface temperature.
Sure. Okay, so it'd be warm at the surface, I guess. Here's a close-up of the eye, and I want to get the context of this with the islands. Now, on the left-hand side, you'll see the one that sort of has the jagged edges. That's Antigua. Further north there is Barbuda, and the storm is going to pretty much take a direct line towards Barbuda and its 1,600 inhabitants. At the very bottom, just under our breaking news bar, you've got Guadeloupe, and on the left-hand side, far over to the left over there is Montserrat, the smallest one in the picture. And you can see how close they are to the ferocious grip of Hurricane Irma right now. And if we move up a little bit further towards the northwest, you can see many of the other locations too. St. Kitts and Nevis, which are the smaller, thinner islands there. St. Martin is the one near the top left, second one down, that's got a divide in the middle because half of it is French and half of it is Dutch. And you've also got, just north of there, Anguilla, which is a British overseas territory and may also get very close to the centre of the storm. Further over again to the west, you've got more places. You've got the Virgin Islands. The British Virgin Islands are the ones to the north and east. The US Virgin Islands on the Puerto Rico side. The British Virgin Islands will get the worst of the storm, it would appear, though it is quite possible still that the centre of Irma might pass pretty much over all of the Virgin Islands around the border between the British and US Virgin Islands, and then that's how close it is to Puerto Rico as well, passing just to the north of Puerto Rico. And it's stopped working for me now, and past just to the north as it continues. Go ahead.
I just want to point out a new drop zone just came in at
Oh, right.
917 millibars.
917, so our estimate was around right with 918.
And it does indicate west-northwest movement of the eye from the two drop zones from one to the next.
So that's breaking news there, really. 917, that's the latest confirmation.
And there will probably be another recon plane going through the center from northwest to southeast shortly as well.
Right.
And that'll be a lower level reconnaissance.
Yeah, same level.
Yeah, NOAA and AF are different missions. I mean, different planes. But anyways,
Catastrophic. Here are the warnings then, to reiterate what those warnings are, because we haven't mentioned them this hour. A hurricane warning is in effect for pretty much all of those places I just mentioned, from Antigua all the way to Puerto Rico, and for the northern coast of the Dominican Republic, from Cabo Engano to the northern border with Haiti. A hurricane watch is in effect for Guadeloupe, Haiti, from the northern border with the Dominican Republic to Limoges, St. Nicholas, the Turks and Caicos Islands, and southeastern Bahamas. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Guadeloupe, Dominica, the Dominican Republic from south of Cabo Engano westward to the southern border with Haiti, and a tropical storm watch is in effect for Haiti from south of Limoges, St. Nicholas to Port-au-Prince. And all of those areas will probably get significant effects from this storm. And we're also concerned about Haiti yet again, after Matthew, of course, and now the northern part of Haiti I'm most concerned about, personally. But then you've also got these storm surge impacts. If it strikes a high tide, storm surge could look like this. Northern Leeward Islands, 7 to 11 feet. The Turks and Caicos Islands, 15 to 20 feet. The southeastern Bahamas, also 15 to 20 feet. The northern coast of the Dominican Republic, 3 to 5 feet. And the northern coast of Haiti and the Gulf of Gonave, 1 to 3 feet. The British and US Virgin Islands, except St. Croix, 7 to 11 feet. The northern coast of Puerto Rico, 3 to 5 feet. And the southern coast of Puerto Rico and St. Croix, 1 to 2 feet. As for rainfall, the northern Leeward Islands, 8 to 12 inches, isolated 20. Northeast Puerto Rico and the British and US Virgin Islands, except St. Croix, 4 to 10 inches, isolated 15. Southwest Puerto Rico, the southern Leeward Islands and St. Croix, 2 to 4 inches. And rain accumulations later on for southeast Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos, 8 to 12, isolated to 20. The northern Dominican Republic and southern Haiti, 4 to 10, isolated 15. Southwest Haiti, 1 to 4 inches. And that's all. We're now looking at a model
I just
run.
saw a question in chat. Someone was asking if we think the HMON wind speed predictions are accurate at all or have merit.
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, you go ahead and answer it.
The HMON wind speeds
Yes.
are very interesting actually, and not outside the realms of possibility. The pressures certainly are, but the actual wind speeds they're predicting, at one point they said 200 miles an hour, which is the most they ever predicted. At the moment I think they're saying something like 185 as it nears the Keys. That will happen if the storm does not go close to any of the other islands like it's been depicted there by the HWRF making landfall in Cuba. That will significantly weaken the storm.
Once it loads up, of course, because things are pretty slow today on the site because of all the traffic.
Right. So I continue to do something over here in the background. Do pardon my absence for a brief minute. It's very difficult running a live stream with everything that's going on in it when there's only 3 of us here. Well, 4 technically. And Isaac, any further thoughts that you've had? And what do you think of this model run?
Well, I mean, I don't have any thoughts really, because the storm is like really bad. But Irma definitely pretty intense storm. Going back to recon, the AF, the lower level reconnaissance recon has found 113 knot winds, I think, in the lightest. They're starting to get into the CDO, the inner CDO, something that's overcast to the storm. And then the NOAA mission is probably going to go for for another, maybe one or two more passes, and then it's going to probably call it a day. I'm just scrambling to just look at stuff right now because all the sites are just running slow because of all the traffic, like you said.
Yeah, and we're looking at the HMON. We were talking about the wind strengths. It does predict it to actually stay at Category 5 for at least the next 75 hours.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know if we really trust the pressure. It does bring it
No,
down below
don't
900. I don't
trust
think we should.
the pressure. But it could happen.
The storm can still deepen in pressure, but it's highly unlikely at the moment that it gets to below 800 in just 18 hours or so. That's just not going to happen.
Below 800, you say?
Yeah, that's what it says in 9 hours that
below
sorry,
800, you
below
said.
9 hours, it gets below 900.
900.
Is what it says.
I thought you said that. We didn't want to see a 770 millibar storm here.
No. But the HMON does keep this storm a bit further north. It actually keeps it further north of Puerto Rico than the GFS and clears it of Hispaniola and Cuba. It actually brings it up through more of the central Bahamas, actually, almost. And this is only just 75 hours right now as well. The H1 hasn't fully rendered in for
Still
its
coming out.
126-hour run yet.
So, on that last frame, maybe? Can you show me what the last... hold on. 2 from the end there. Could you go back 2?
Okay, this is 2
That
from
one.
the
What's
end
the
right
wind
here.
speed showing there? It's 180 miles an hour.
It says 155.7 knots right here.
Yeah.
And this is over... It's harder to tell because it's zoomed in more, but this is over the Turks and Caicos and southernmost Bahamas.
That's the Bahamas, yeah.
Yeah. And I'll just point it out. You can see Cuba right here in the bottom of the image right here. So it shows the storm further north of Cuba than other model runs show. And it does maintain it at a Category 5 status, and this is 69 hours out.
Indeed. Marcel? Oh, Cesar's back as well. He's there
Hello.
somewhere. Oh, hello. Welcome back.
Yes. Thank you, Nathan. And hello, everybody.
Irma's now 99 miles away from Guadeloupe. What are your thoughts?
90 miles away.
99.
Oh, 99. Oh my. Every time there, sorry. Every time that Irma is approaching to those islands, I'm getting more and more concerned for those.
Because the storm
people
keeps
are-
intensifying.
Exactly. Irma is not quitting. It's not. It has no mercy. It's a monster. It's an authentic monster. And as I said before, this is just the beginning of a true disaster.
And normally we'd be
We
quick to
haven't
jump
saw-
on you and say, whoa there, don't say that, but you're looking at this right now. This is the strongest storm to have occurred in the area probably since 1780, and it's massive, and the effects, if it makes landfall on any of these unfortunate islands, and it looks like Barbuda might be one of them, I really fear for what we will be seeing tomorrow morning, what will remain of that civilization on that island.
Yeah, and one thing to keep in mind with
Exactly.
these storms that are this powerful is like, you see a storm, and I'm just using Harvey for wind comparison of 130 miles an hour. The winds of a storm like Irma, even though they're only 55 miles an hour stronger, which don't get me wrong is a lot, the damage that you get from 130 to 185 goes up exponentially the higher up you go. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
check recon. They might have made another pass with the second plane.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Obviously the site's still running
No,
slow.
they're not. They haven't yet, but they're getting pretty close. You can already see them measuring the Category 4 winds, and they're not there yet. It looks like Barbuda and Antigua are just about on the cusp of hurricane force winds.
I also
It-
can't help but notice that
Draw this line like that.
I can't help but notice that some people commenting on the stream are responding to things that happened on the stream quite a while ago. So people who've been watching for quite a while, it's always a good idea to reload the page every so often, just so that you are up to date, especially on a day like today, because the connection here hasn't been so good and the stream has been failing once or twice. So you might want to do that just to keep up to date. There should be no more than a 15-second delay. Strat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're still looking at the recon. I'm just showing this. Let me change my color quickly. But anything that's more than light green or light green or more is tropical storm force on the surface. So all of these islands this way, potentially further south, let's just box this in. Most of these, if not all, are already under tropical storm force conditions. And as the storm continues to approach out of the west or east, it's going to continue. Conditions are going to continue to deteriorate, especially for Antigua and Barbuda right there, who might get a landfall from the storm.
Well, let's see now if we can take a look at some more latest imagery on the infrared Ghost 16 satellite, and you can see how it's been progressing here. We've not looked at radar for a while either, so I'm gonna bring that up
Yeah,
now.
I just pulled up the radar
You
of the
have?
storm as well. It looks like an
Oh, yeah, of
eyewall
course, you've
replacement
shown us that
cycle
not long
is
ago. Yeah.
trying to occur, but it's kind of struggling to really get there.
Here's a very odd question. Is there any historic Pacific typhoons that are a good analogue for a storm of this intensity? No, because it's not in the Pacific. I'm sorry, I can't answer that question.
I mean, I think
Atlantic
he's
are
referencing like
only
strength
comparable.
of the storm.
I know. Cesar, anything to comment on that?
I mean, there have been more intense typhoons than Irma in the Western Pacific,
Yeah,
but
obviously.
the Western Pacific right now has nothing to do with what is happening right now with Irma. So
Oh, he's not playing ball either.
exactly.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
And a very authoritative cough there at the end, of course. Yes. Well.
Someone asked, how come it's not in the Pacific then?
Huh?
I don't know if they're referencing Irma
Because it's
or-
not in the Pacific. It's clearly in the Atlantic.
Someone
And it's
just said
nothing. Don't
that,
ever make a comparison with Haiyan. It's got nothing on
someone
Haiyan.
just said
And never
they found
will.
151 knots. Let me check that.
In the meantime, this is what the latest imagery looks like, and let's see if we can get a little animation on this.
Yeah, there is. They just did an eye pass. The visible image hasn't updated, but they did do an eye pass from the northwest side, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
They did get above 160 knots flight level.
Right.
Let me zoom in on it a little bit.
But if it's, and that's flight level, they'll need something like 175 knots flight level if they're going to think about any sort of upgrade on this.
Yeah. They're getting around in between 155 and 160 knots on the surface at the moment. So.
Which is still a hell of a lot.
Oh yeah, for certain. Just because it isn't intensifying doesn't mean it's not one
Well,
of the
well,
most dangerous
technically it is
storms of the
intensifying
past
in
decade.
pressure.
It is. It's still deepening in pressure. If you look at the measurements here, it's actually dropped around to 915, if not a little bit lower.
Yeah. Let's zoom
I would
back
like
out
to
on
say
this.
also the
There's Devon.
eyewall replacement cycle is starting to become more and more apparent on the recon as well.
And this is late imagery as well. Yeah, Devon, in the last hour we were looking and commending the eye wall because it appeared that the grey areas on the Ghost 16 satellite and the black areas had completely consolidated around the eye, but now it looks like it's come apart again. And what would you suggest is occurring?
Well, this is usually what's occurring. Now, I can definitely see this right now that, yeah, the very tall cloud tops are now gathering around the eye. It's impressive to say the least. The recon just passed through. I think they found 160 knots.
Yeah, just about.
150, 155, 160, 150, 155 we'll say, because that's 10-second winds. So we'll go with 155 on that.
Right.
And that's really considerable. The pressure is going to continue to drop. I think the winds are going to stay stagnant probably until this.
You say the pressure will
eyewall
continue to
replacement
drop
starts
for
to
how
go
long?
through. And the cloud tops are going to blow back up while this is happening, obviously, and that'll signify your lowering of the pressure. And then once the inner eye goes away, the outer eye contracts. That's when you get the rapid intensification. Of course, what the hell is rapid intensification from 160 knots?
Yeah.
That sounds absolutely insane, but that's what it looks like. and that is, I can't even put that to words.
And it still has room to do so. It's not in an area of a lot of shear.
Oh, no shear at all,
With
man.
the ocean heat
There's
content, it still
practically
has
zero
a good amount, if not
shear.
more than it currently
Irma
does.
has everything to keep intensifying, even that it's 185 miles per hour. This is a crime.
That's the scary part. You would think that the water's underneath it, 29.5 degrees Celsius, you would think that that wouldn't hold anything above 175, 180, but clearly we are mistaken here, folks. This is going to defy any kind of MPI value or anything like that, because this storm's just not caring at all what your MPI value is. This storm
Devin,
is just dominating its environment. It's crazy.
Devin. Sorry to interrupt, but the lower level reconnaissance mission, it looked like it was trying to do a pass, but it moved away from the eye at the last few frames for some reason. But their peak wind, surface wind so far that they recorded, it looks to be 160 knots, if I'm not mistaken. It looks to be.
Yeah,
And
but
the
remember
lowest
those are
pressure.
10-second winds, so put it down 5, so 155.
And yeah, no, and the lowest pressure they have found so far, flight level, it seems to be 916.0. It looks like flight
Did it
level.
And
actually
those pressures that you see are usually underestimates. We'll see what the drop puts down.
Yeah,
Well,
did they actually miss the eye
the weird thing
apparently, or
about
what
that is
happened?
that like they were going straight into it, but they moved away from the eye wall like at the last few frames for some reason. They may have had like an engine failure or something. I don't know.
It's very possible that that satellite image in that frame is also out of date.
But like the plane itself, though, it's like I don't know.
We'll see in like
It's
the
hard
next
to
15,
see.
20 minutes if it takes a unusual path, whether or not something went wrong and they have had to land.
We have information from recon.
Yes,
Yeah, what is it saying?
just Isaac said it.
Yeah.
About winds.
Yeah.
Yep. And by the way, the map I'm showing on the screen right now is ocean heat content. Basically, it's how deep the warm water goes. The deeper it goes, the more energy the hurricane has to draw from. It's already in pretty warm sea surface temperatures in the moving into an area where there's just as much, if not slightly more, ocean heat content. And out here, in particular, right around the Bahamas, let me use a different color. It shows even higher amounts as well. So when it tracks into there, some models do predict the rapid intensification of that area. That I mean, it's already insanely powerful, but it can also still get stronger in that area in particular as well.
And that also all depends on what its land interaction is with Cuba.
Yeah, some of the models lately have been, at least the GFS and the HMON, they shifted a little bit further north. My guess is that because of how strong it is, it's stronger than the previous run models initiated it at, that they're predicting that it can push a bit further into the ridge, and that's pushing the track forecast from them a little further north.
And hopefully it stays being pushed into the wind ridge and curving out to sea.
Yeah, that's the hope, although it depends on really. It doesn't seem super likely based off of the tracks right now that it can somehow just break through and go out to sea. If you guys want to ask any questions, just ask us in chat. I have it open on my phone as well. That way I can use my computer screen to show this stuff, and I can look in chat to answer questions. So if you guys have any questions, just ask them in chat.
Indeed, and I've just been here in the background listening to the conversation. Let's see if we can get the latest imagery on Irma right now, and well, there it is. This was 11 minutes ago, and I wonder right now actually whether the eye itself may just be losing a little bit of its symmetry.
And again, going back to the EWRC.
Mm-hmm.
And that should temporarily weaken it slightly, if I'm correct, right?
It might dip 5 miles an hour, maybe 10 miles an hour, and even 10 sounds a lot, but it ain't gonna dip much. Plus the intensification that would happen afterwards. That's what I'm worried about right
when
now.
an eyewall replacement cycle
see.
occurs, some of the wind field actually expands a bit as well. So that means while an eyewall replacement cycle occurs, it could lead to not only strengthening afterwards, but the effects being more widespread throughout the area around the storm as well. If I look at the current storm info, the hurricane force winds around the storm have actually more than doubled in size in the past day or so, and that's been the result of the wind field expanding a bit. And then I can also pull up the visible floater, so that we can see what's been happening as well. That's basically just the path that's been taking, and now it's, instead of just going due west, it's going west-northwest, and that should be reflected in the National Hurricane Center update at 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm. Which will probably come out in the next hour, maybe, if they're doing it like they have been.
Yes, the
And someone
National
asked in
Hurricane Center
chat,
will update soon.
Nathan, I don't know if you can answer this one. Someone asked if there are airport surface speeds that will be provided from these islands, like measurements from the surface. I would assume Jason would have those if anyone does.
Observations. I might be able to get some for you.
I know someone in chat earlier said that he lives on one of the islands there, and that he was already getting like tropical storm force winds and gusts. He isn't in chat anymore. I would just assume that his power's gone out or something. And someone asked if it's hit Anguilla yet. No, it hasn't hit there yet. But it, not fully at least, but it's getting there, and there's already strong winds in the area as well.
So the current conditions at Antigua at the airport is currently the pressure is 1004 millibars, so still quite high. This is as of 30 minutes ago, and the wind was 20 miles per hour sustained. Huh.
Yeah, and
Should be tropical storm force by now.
Yeah, I mean, how long ago is that? Because
that was just 30 minutes ago. That.
Because if I go to the just the cone, it's a bit iffy. If I go to the interactive one, it's a bit better to show. But actually, it as of 5 p.m., it's like borderline of these areas. So
off the St. John area in Antigua, this was updated about 9 minutes ago, and it says the wind so far is from the north at 19 miles an hour.
Okay, so maybe this is overestimating the wind field a little bit. I'm not sure. Someone asked.
I certainly think so, because I'm looking at Guadalupe as well, which is the closest point to the storm still, just about 99 miles from the center of Irma, and the current wind speeds there. Does it have a time? That was as of 7 p.m. local, so that must have been half an hour ago as well.
Yeah.
The wind speeds there were only a maximum of 32 kilometers per hour, which is only about 20-something miles per hour, gusting to 61, which is something like, it's not even 40 miles an hour there, that's something like 37, 38. So, still no tropical storm force winds have been recorded by any observation station yet.
And someone asked if it can get to 190 before Guadalupe and Antigua and stuff. I think you guys would agree with me when I say, due to the eyewall replacement cycle, it doesn't seem likely at the moment that it intensifies to that point. Its pressure's still been dropping, but
probably if it's going to happen, that it will be now. Because I don't see much longer until that eye goes.
And someone asked if we can check the ice current condition. I can pull up the radar imagery.
Well, it's exactly the same as it was. The eye temperature
seems
now,
roughly.
let's see, is 19. So it's slightly higher than it was the last hour. Might be a little bit more. Let's see if we can get a 20 from the satellite image.
I can also pull recon to double check that the recon recording.
Just 19, I think.
Yeah.
Nope, 21
Uh,
actually. 21 Celsius in the eye.
Recon also shows about 21 flight level Celsius area as well.
Okay, so there's some consensus there.
Which is
So that's
stay
basically as warm as the eye is going to get. It's 21 Celsius.
might appear so, yes. Well, at least for now.
And someone asked how powerful will Irma get by the time it hits Florida. You guys, you want to answer that?
All depends on when it. All depends on is where if it hits Cuba, and what part of Florida it hits.
You know,
I think
it's
the
just...
land interaction will weaken the storm. Some of the models like the H Wharf
Okay,
show that
the
happening.
recon updated, and the lowest pressure seems to be 913.1.
Wow. Is that a flight level?
That
That's flight level on the lower reconnaissance on the AF 305 mission 11.
yeah, that's the
Yeah, I
that's
see it.
that's the
Gee.
extrapolated pressure. So the pressure from the drop zone is probably going to be 916 to 918.
And then
I would
their
assume
second
917 because it's deeper than earlier. Pressure earlier on the previous drop zone was 917.
and the 10-second wind reading on the second pass into the eye wall seems to be slightly lower than the first one at around 150 knots.
Just about, but that's also the northwest eye wall as well, not the northeast.
No,
And we were just
this
talking
is
about
no, Strat, this is the southern eye wall that they passed through.
southern eye wall. I'm
Yeah,
looking at the wrong side.
they went through the northern eye wall, and then they went through the southern eye wall just now and got
Okay,
that.
my bad. And I'm just showing on the screen the H Wharf model just because we were talking about Florida. It all depends on whether or not it hits Cuba and stuff, and also how far north it goes as well. The H Wharf does show a Cuba landfall at the moment, and that would weaken the storm significantly before any turn to the north. And someone asked if it'll behave differently at night compared to the day. You guys can answer that.
Oh, the only difference will be is that it'll be pitch black.
Yeah, pretty much.
You
So
won't see
the
any
answer is
stars
Sometimes
going
no,
storms
down.
no.
do better at night, don't they?
Yeah. And if you're lucky, if the storm's strong enough, you might see an occasional lightning strike here and there around if you're near the eye wall of it too.
Yeah, and someone asked what we think the worst cyclone ever was. So you guys want to take turns with that?
Are you talking about damage or deaths?
That's like pretty
Um,
much the most broad question you could ever ask us.
Well, let's
Yeah.
go with both really. Let's just say like which we think was like the worst hurricane to affect land.
Well,
I
for
mean,
deaths, it's obvious. It's obviously the 1970s cyclone.
we
but
need
I
a
can't say
1 hour.
it's
We
any
need a
of
1
them.
hour debate show for this.
Well, without getting into it, do we just want to like say it quickly? Actually, no. You know what? Let's just put it off because I saw another question.
Okay, yeah,
Well,
well, there was
Uh,
plenty of questions.
Yeah, someone asked what's the possible impacts for Southeast Florida.
It's
Yeah, well,
it,
I
it,
think
mm,
Southeast Florida have a decent chance of having hurricane conditions. I wouldn't say it's over 50% chance yet. I would personally put it at
yeah.
something like 30-40%. Officially, it's something like 22%.
And you got to take into account where the front is that's going to be steering this thing. Is if it's more to the east or more towards the west, and how strong it'll be will like change the forecast by a little. So we gotta. It just depends on that front, basically.
Yeah, I'll show the
I would
model spread at the moment. Actually, you guys want to keep talking?
just if you want me to iterate a couple of places in Florida and their chances of tropical storm and hurricane force winds, I can do that.
Go ahead.
Someone asked if
It
it's reached the lesser.
it seems like the place that's most at risk right now is obviously Key West, Florida. 62% chance of tropical storm force winds and 24% chance of hurricane force winds. Marathon, Florida has a higher chance of tropical storm force winds at 65, but a lower chance of hurricane at 23. Miami, Florida, 56% chance of hurricane force winds, 14% chance of hurricane force winds. Fort Lauderdale, 51% chance of tropical storm, 11% chance of hurricane. West Palm Beach, 42% chance of tropical storm, 8% chance of hurricane. Cocoa Beach, Florida, 17% chance. 23% chance of tropical storm, 3% hurricane. Daytona Beach, 14% tropical storm, 1% hurricane. Going further down, I think that's starting to go up the west coast there, like Fort Myers and stuff. So that's basically the east coast of Florida.
Yeah, and someone asked if it's reached the Lesser Antilles yet. Just about. Impacts are starting to be felt in Guadeloupe and Antigua as well.
Yep. At this point, let me reiterate what the warnings are right now, which will give everyone in the room a chance to just recuperate. I've just put in a message for you guys, by the way, if you want to take a look. A hurricane warning is in effect for Antigua, Barbuda, Anguilla, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, Saba, St. Eustatius and St. Martin, and St. Barthélemy. The British Virgin Islands, the US Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico and its islands of Vieques and Culebra, and the Dominican Republic from Cabo Engano to the northern border with Haiti. A hurricane watch for Guadeloupe, Haiti from the northern border with the Dominican Republic to Limol St. Nicolas, Turks and Caicos Islands and southeastern Bahamas. A tropical storm warning is in effect for Guadeloupe, Dominica and the Dominican Republic from south of Cabo Engano westward to the southern border with Haiti. A tropical storm watch is in effect for Haiti from south of Limol St. Nicolas to Port-au-Prince. And excuse me, the wind probabilities, which I want to read out again, selected locations for hurricane probabilities. Guadeloupe 2%, Antigua 64, Barbuda 97, St. Kitts and Nevis 53, St. Martin 94, St. Croix 29, St. Thomas 80, San Juan 50, Santo Domingo 6, Port-au-Prince 2, Kingston, Jamaica 12% chance of tropical storm force winds, Grand Cayman 2% chance of hurricane force winds, Guantanamo Bay 18%, Havana 12, Grand Turk 51, Great Exuma 25, Andros 23, New Providence 12. In the United States, Sedekey 2% of hurricane force winds, Tampa 3, Venice 7, Fort Myers 8, Naples 11, Key West 24, Marathon 23, Homestead 17, Miami 14%, Fort Lauderdale 11, West Palm Beach 8, Fort Pierce 5, Cocoa Beach 3, Orlando 2, Daytona Beach 1. In the meantime,
Do you want to throw up the Ghost 16 IR, by the way, Nathan?
well, I've been showing it in and out, and again, there it is, the latest imagery. Well, that's not quite the latest at the moment. I'll try and get that for you shortly. In the meantime, let's take a look at its progression with the long-term floater, which can, when we're looking at all of this instant 1-minute imagery, we can often lose track of just exactly the big picture and where exactly the storm's been going over a 7-hour period, rather than just the last 10 minutes. And you can see how it's been progressing in that time, and it's decidedly west-northwest. And I think here's the latest imagery from Ghost 16 now. And again, that southwestern eye wall seems to be consolidating again, but then again, it's tearing apart a bit the northern side now. What do you think, guys?
It's kind of harder to tell at the moment, but the storm is trying to go through an eyeball replacement cycle for sure at the moment.
Yeah, I believe on radar too. Also, you can see it better on radar.
Yeah, I'm looking at the radar right now. It's tried to open up a little bit with the second eyeball, and then it closes up on one side and tries to open up on the other again, essentially.
There's the National Hurricane Center's website, by the way, showing you all 3 systems that we've got active right now. We haven't mentioned the others very much because they're not a threat yet, but they do exist.
Radar.
Tropical Depression 13 and Tropical Storm Jose, which is behind Irma. What are you showing?
I just threw up the radar image for the moment so that we can see what's going on with the eye.
Let's see if we can get this. There it is.
And you can see it's more apparent at the earlier frames that it does try to open up a little bit the eye wall, and then it starts trying to again at the very last.
Oh, hey, we've got the update, by the way, and the track map is out. So the National Hurricane Center have gone down to 916 millibars on their update, and they've put out, Cuba have put out hurricane watches for the provinces of Matanzas eastward to Guantanamo. So we've got a significant area now under more hurricane watches, which this graphic will update you on very shortly indeed. The track won't have changed, but the graphic has. There it is.
And according to the National Hurricane Center wind track, there should already be tropical storm conditions in some of those areas, but they aren't measuring any.
Well, there might be. I mean, there's only one observation station that I saw in Antigua. There was only one quoted
is there actually only one?
Well, I only saw one.
Okay.
In Guadeloupe, there's only 3. So any of the areas, isolated areas, coastal areas on the eastern side could be seeing those winds, but certainly doesn't apply to the whole islands yet at all.
Right, I forgot to mention this earlier. Someone asked what kind of damage we think this can do.
Yeah.
I mean, considering the scale of wind damage, especially in some underdeveloped areas, I know economics and stuff, Puerto Rico's kind of not doing the best economically. In places that aren't as developed, this thing can just shred things apart, especially because as the winds get stronger, the damage scale goes up exponentially.
I mean, you'll be talking something like maybe 20 billion, something like that, before it's even finished with the Greater Antilles.
Because with its current movement and the land that it just goes over, it can just destroy, it can level whole like villages and towns and stuff, essentially. Especially if they're not like well built to sustain these kind of things, and buildings aren't meant to handle 185 mile an hour winds anyways, even in cities that are built to try to defend against hurricane winds.
I don't understand those wind probabilities sometimes though. I know someone mentioned about in the comments about Miami and only 14% chance, and yeah, I think it should be higher as well. But
those are like the wind speed probabilities from the Hurricane Center.
Yeah, for hurricane force, but even Barbuda, which it looks like it's going to get the eye, only 97%. How can there be 3% chance that it will weaken to a tropical storm before it gets there?
The way they make those graphics, I don't really understand. I think it's more just an indicator of the direction things are going in, more than anything else. I'm gonna check and see if the drop zone landed. No, it didn't land yet. Oh.
I would like to say that as far as Antigua and Barbuda, they are rather remote islands, especially Barbuda, which only has about 1,600 people on it. So any damages incurred on those islands will probably They won't be a significant fraction of the storm's damage.
And just a quick note here. Also, the NOAA mission is going in for another pass.
Oh, is it? Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah, just now.
I think even though it's a small place, with the strength of the storm, and if it's not very well developed, it could potentially if the place is that small populated, only only a couple villages, it could potentially, without exaggerating, it could level the whole island potentially.
And yeah, we've had storms that have completely devastated the entire islands of the Lesser Antilles. I mean, take a look at Erica from 2015 and the wasteland that really left Dominica in. So these islands are definitely very susceptible to storms like this.
And the pressure continues to decrease. Devon, earlier I tried to ask you, you were talking about the pressure will continue to go down, but how long for?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Oh, great.
Since they put out new watches and warnings, do you think we should go over those right now?
Well, there's only been, well, I revealed all of the watches and warnings just before they updated, and it just added most of Cuba to it, and, well, a significant chunk of it anyway, and rightly so. But we will be finishing our coverage at the end of this hour for today, but we will be producing more updates throughout tonight on Irma. Obviously we will have several updates on that, and we will be live again, no doubt, for several periods during the day and evening of tomorrow. And of course you can always find us on our social platforms, Facebook and Twitter, search Force13 all in text, and we have regular updates on there too. You can add Fool13 on Skype, FOOL13, and add extension 9094 on Discord.
And someone asked, do we think it'll do more damage than Florida or the Leeward Islands or Lesser Antilles?
It just depends on it. It just really depends on the way how good the structure is on those areas and how strong the storm will be when it reaches those areas. Is what it depends on, in my opinion.
I mean, at least for Barbuda and Antigua, the effects, I'm pretty sure we can already say with confidence, will be absolutely devastating.
Depends on the your sense of scale and perspective here, because
yeah, scale does matter, but still, at least on my scale. And then it's harder to tell for Florida at this point because it's further out and tracks aren't set or anything yet on that.
But what I mean, it's much more debilitating if the storm takes 5 billion off a 10 billion economy rather than 5 billion off a 100 billion economy.
Yeah, economic damages would probably be greater in the Leeward Islands and Lesser Antilles, where they're not as economically developed in the United States.
Yeah, and just to tell you right there, I mean, we're talking about the entire GDP of Houston is probably greater than all of these islands combined. So, you know, just to get an idea of the worth here, you know, that's why I say a majority of the damage isn't going to be done here, but what places that will be damaged on these islands, they will be extremely widespread, especially on Barbuda, which, man, it looks like that they're almost certainly going to get hurricane force winds and probably at least an 80% chance of major hurricane force winds.
And the unfortunate thing is that because the island is so small, it won't really do much, if anything, to weaken the storm at all.
Nope. Yeah, it's a really small island, so you're right on that. It really won't do much. All we can do is sit here and wait for the next, I don't know, 6 or 7 hours or so, and boy, just pray for the best out of Barbuda, because boy, they're gonna get, they are about to get the storm of of the country's history, probably.
It's not often
I
you have a Category 5 landfall
I
on
can't.
an island as small as this.
I mean, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that there has been no storms that are even that have made landfall in the Lesser Antilles at this intensity, at least in the satellite era, if not all the way back to the Herdat era of 1851. I'm pretty sure.
Gee.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
but
And the only thing that could even come close to this, I think, in the satellite era, also correct me if I'm wrong, is I think Ivan when it made I think a Category 3 landfall in one of the
That was way further
uh,
south.
areas.
I'm
Yeah,
And
I'm talking about
I'm
like
just
storms like the same latitude and longitude, or near around the same area. I mean,
no, I can't really think of anything.
Ivan was
Sorry,
much
where
further south, wasn't it?
5.
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just saying like storms that are like in a general area that are, I mean, and like I said, this thing's gonna be hitting at night, obviously. So basically, what you're gonna see from this is just pure darkness, unless you have a flashlight or something with you.
It's
And
also
if you haven't taken precautions or whatever, it's pretty much too late. Like I said, to do that, you've had plenty enough time to do it already. And uh, lastly, you're gonna want to be in the interior most part of your house, away from windows, near like preferably a closet or bathroom. Cover yourself with a bed or blankets and pillows, just to ensure you don't get hit by the damage or debris. And just pray for the best, really.
it's also harder when storms hit at night because not only can you not really see what's going on, but at the same time, people are sleeping at night. So if they need to move, it's harder for them to move if they're not staying awake as much as they need to sleep as well.
Yeah.
And shall I say it again? I don't know why this is so common, but we have another extremely significant storm hitting land at the overnight hours on the east coast of the United States.
Always happens.
I really don't understand why this seems to be a coincidence. I don't know.
It's because the storm doesn't
But
want you to see it
yeah,
on visible. I don't know.
it's another storm that's going to make another significant landfall overnight on the East Coast.
Well, that's pretty much everything, I guess. We've talked about everything that there is to talk about. And Irma continues to approach the islands, now less than 100 miles until striking them. It's going to be a very long night over in the Leeward Islands tonight, and it's going to be a very long week for the rest of the islands in the Caribbean and beyond.
And just pray for those islands right now, because they're gonna be in for a beating from this thing right now. Well, soon, I mean.
To anyone there that's listening,
And just have them in your thoughts, really.
And more questions. Will the storm do a track like Francis plus Charlie plus Rita? How's that possible?
This is not possible, and this is
Well,
kinda.
it probably won't do a Charlie anymore.
That is a kind of weird.
It won't do a
storm-
Rita,
The
and
storm is going.
and
to
it's gonna,
Florida.
and it may well be worse than Charlie. That's all we can say. And what was the worst hurricane hit Delaware? That's an interesting question. I've been thinking about that for a while, and I'm not actually sure.
I think
Worst hurricane to hit Delaware?
Yeah.
yeah, that's the question.
I don't think a hurricane has ever made landfall in Delaware. I think the strongest storm to ever make landfall in the Delmarva Peninsula was Tropical Storm Danielle from 1992.
Ooh.
Well, I think they mean like impact-wise.
there was a hurricane that went through all of them. It was the Norfolk Long Island hurricane.
Yeah. Maybe an old
And
one.
if
I don't know.
it's strongest winds over Delaware itself, I'd probably have to say Hurricane Sandy is a pretty good contender.
Wow. Yeah. Anyway, we're done here for tonight. We'll be with you again tomorrow with more live coverage, and we'll have some not live updates maybe, but recorded updates throughout tonight with some short, just little bulletins on Irma as it continues to approach those islands. Stay safe out there. It's going to be a long one.
Pray for them.
Stay safe.